Hi, welcome back to Magic Theory 101. I forgot to turn on my microphone just now, so this is take two, re-recording the first part of this episode. My name is Zoe Morana, and today the topic of this episode is going to be maneuvering the spirit. So, what do I mean by maneuvering the spirit? I mean astral projecting or dreamwalking, which is a type of astral projecting. I also mean things like accessing the Akashic Records, which is highly tied into the ability to astral project and to manipulate energies. And so let's get into it. So, how I define your spirit is the system of beliefs that makes up your being because you are consciousness, and what separates you from being someone else, the boundary that separates you and me from being the same person, is that we have different belief systems. Otherwise, we're just made of the same consciousness. And so that is how I define spirit. The physical body would be the translation of your spirit into the material realm. So, how would we go about astral projecting and maneuvering the spirit? Well, a lot of the time we can do this through guided meditations or asking your spirit guides to lead you. But one thing we need to focus on, especially if you're a beginner at astral projecting, is being very safe. So there's a few things to note about safety and astral projection. Um, First off is making sure your vessel is protected, that no negative entities will come and try to harm the vessel or possess the vessel. And the other thing is that your spirit is safe while it travels and it runs no risk of being fractured. And I would just like to add a brief note on using substances for astral projection. So, a lot of the time I've seen or heard of people using substances for astral projection. And while this may be effective in getting the spirit to shift its awareness out of the body, it's kind of like you're overriding the system temporarily. What this can result in actually is your spirit becoming fractured. So this ki- this kind of override might bring you to experience certain things that you aren't ready for. I would say we're given what we're ready for at the right time, but sometimes when people don't have the patience to do that sort of gradual spiritual growth, or sometimes they just want to, let's put it this way, sometimes they just want to skip levels. And they do skip levels, but they aren't able to fully integrate everything they experience. In fact, they might bring back experiences that are too vast for their current state of being and their current consciousness. And so, what this might manifest in is maybe seeming like you have two spirits because you have two sets of belief systems now. You have one set, one version of you that is expanded, that is higher, that knows all of this divine knowledge. But at the same time, because you tapped into this before you did the healing, before you worked through the blockages and did the lessons, you still have this wounded version of you that simultaneously exists. And so this might create a very paradoxical person. Say that maybe someone, they're very wise, they definitely know a lot of spiritual things, and They definitely do have intuition and spiritual abilities, but at the same time, sometimes they just react to certain situations like a really immature person, like a child. It's almost like there's two different versions of them. This is what happens to a lot of the people who use heavy substances to force themselves into an advanced energetic state before they're necessarily ready to be in that advanced energetic state all of the time. Before you try to get into any sort of state, we really need to ask ourselves, are we ready for this? Because sometimes people try to get to these states out of curiosity, sometimes it's out of pride, sometimes they feel they need to catch up with certain people around them. And that just causes them to take their journey in a way that, well, in a way that isn't really that comfortable. It's more painful than it has to be because what you're doing is you're kind of accelerating the lessons and it can be really difficult for people to integrate that. And so going more into astral projection after that brief disclaimer about substances and how they can result in a fractured spirit, I would say when you're first trying astral projection, make sure your vessel is protected. The way that some people do this is by sleeping with some sort of crystal, or when they intend to astral project, they sleep in some sort of protective circle, and also making sure that the spirit is protected. The way that you can do this part would be by getting in touch with your spirit guides or certain deities and really a really easy way to start off with astral projection is lucid dreaming. So the dream state comes very naturally to humans, and we just need to bring our awareness into that dream state. Lucid dreaming is something that can really help us begin to maneuver our awareness in this altered brainwave state. And when we know how to lucid dream, inside the dreams we can open portals and we can go from that dream to other places in the dream realm. For example, we could go to someone else's dream. So that would be dream walking. There's another method where you consciously train the spirit and your awareness to leave your body. If you do this really fully, that can be a really intensive, really, really detailed astral projection experience. But you can also do this partially. Some people think astral projecting means that your consciousness has to fully leave your body, that you have to be fully unaware of it. This is not true. A lot of the time, when people are accessing or channeling information, for example, when they're accessing the Akashic Records, which is the collective knowing of the collective consciousness, their awareness is still partially inside of their body because they're speaking. They're speaking and they're using their mouth to speak. They're still using their body to transmit that information. But at the same time, part of their awareness is outside of their body in that knowledge of things. And that's how they access the Akashic Records. Sometimes I do guided meditations to sort of create an energetic field where it's easy for people to astral project. But there are a lot of different ways you can astral project yourself, and I would recommend the first of them being to train your dream walking skills because that's what I've seen people have the highest success rate with. And so today I actually do have a few questions on this podcast from my friend Dimitri. So Dimitri was wondering about timelines. Because when we astral project and when we're reading things like the Akashic Records, sometimes we'll try to access certain information that's maybe in the future. And he was just wondering about how timelines work in this. And so I would say when I'm reading the Akashic Records for someone, maybe for one of my clients, it's not necessarily that there is one specific truth, that they had this one specific past life or these few specific past lives that are just set in stone that can't change because everything is simultaneous. I'm just reading the energetic state of this person right now, what is affecting them in this current moment that they might need to know. And so when we're looking into future timelines, like maybe we're seeing what job opportunity we're going to get or when we're going to meet somebody, what we really need to know is that the future is not set in stone. There are so many infinite timelines, and if you looked into one of them, you might just be seeing one of the timelines. What we can do when we're channeling is we can receive advice for the present moment. We might not necessarily get a singular answer to the future that's set in stone, but we might be able to receive information that can help us toward our ideal timeline. So it's just important to note that even if you do receive some type of future vision, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to come true for you unless you choose that timeline for yourself.
Seeing a vision of yourself getting into a car accident wouldn't necessarily mean that you actually are going to get into a car accident. It just might be one of the timelines, the potential timelines out there. But say that you saw that vision. Oh, I'm going to get into a car accident. And then you go out and you buy car insurance, planning around that accident to actually happen. Or maybe you say, oh, I'm going to die in this vision that I just saw. And so I'm just going to live my life as though I'm going to die tomorrow. So I'm going to go out and commit a bunch of crimes. I would say that's not really a reliable or sustainable method to be channeling information, because when you're trying to get an exact answer for the future, the issue is there is no singular future that is set in stone. There is only the present moment, and there is what would help your expansion for your highest good in your present moment. And what we need to understand is in the energetic world, time is not real. So maybe you were asking, okay, what's going to happen on Friday? Or when will I find my next relationship? Will it be in 2 weeks? Will it be in 2 months? The answer is you'll find whatever you are meant to find when your energy is ready for it. There's no already completely set blueprint. There's no blueprint that you must follow and that you cannot change. That's already laid out for you. It doesn't work like that. The way it works is your spirit receives what it is ready to receive for its highest expansion. All right, I was considering doing a guided meditation for this episode, but I'm a bit tired today and it takes some energy to hold that safe energetic field for everyone. So I think I won't be doing that today, but I might post some more tips on astral projection at some point. Another thing I would like to mention about accessing information, for example, maybe you were trying to access the Akashic Records to ask, like, did my ex cheat on me? Or maybe you're dreamwalking to terrorize one of your enemies. I would say that would be something that's not always necessarily aligned with our highest purpose. And I've noticed that the people who do this, the people who have these advanced capabilities of higher consciousness, but they choose to use it acting from a wounded perspective, are usually the people with the fractured spirit. And this is why so many practices were kept hidden, or we limited who could access these practices for such a long time, because what these practices do is they give power. But there are workarounds, there are shortcuts, there are cheat codes, there are ways to kind of temporarily skip forward where these people might do certain damage to themselves because they have power that they aren't necessarily ready for, because it's not power that they're healed enough to have and to process. And yeah, those are people with a fractured spirit.
Okay, this is just a really quick episode. It's not scripted. I'm just relaying some information from part of a class I taught last week. And I'm headed out soon, but before I go, I did really want to talk about energetic veils today. So, energetic veils would be things like glamours, which the fair folk are known to use a lot. But basically, an energetic veil is an energy that isn't necessarily representative of who we are. It's not always aligned with us. And so there can be energetic veils that are protective. There can be energetic veils that make us look more beautiful or more attractive or more appealing. But an energetic veil is something that is more external to our energy. It's like we create this painted outer layer of our energy. And recently, I've been taking down a lot of my personal energetic veils just because I don't feel like wearing them anymore. But there's a lot of reasons why someone would choose to use an energetic veil. One of them would be they're not really in a very safe environment and they need that energetic veil to kind of keep them safe and keep them out of conflicts. But another reason that I've been seeing for a lot of people lately is that they're hiding something. Maybe they're hiding a wound because they're afraid that they won't be accepted. Maybe they're hiding their own power because they're afraid that they won't be accepted. And so, this is how to tell if and when someone has an energetic veil. If you're normally very intuitive, but you kind of just can't seem to grasp this person's intention, this might be a sign that they have an energetic veil. Maybe they might be covering their own anger because they feel ashamed of it. They feel like they have to always present a side of themselves that is loving and kind and gentle and people pleasing, and they're not really allowing themselves to show their anger. That would be veiling their emotion. So sometimes people with energetic veils, they will talk a lot, but they won't be making much sense. Or maybe they'll say 4 or 5 sentences, but what they just said in those 4 or 5 sentences could have been said in one short sentence. And people with energetic veils, they'll commonly repeat themselves a lot unnecessarily when they don't need to. It's almost like they're using a lot of filler language, or they're just talking about things that are distracting or things that don't really matter. It's kind of like they're diverting your attention. They're trying to divert your attention from who they truly are. And just know that this has nothing to do with you as a person. This is due to that person trying to protect themselves and due to that person's own insecurity because they're afraid if they show their true, authentic selves, then they will not be accepted and they will not be safe. I think the energetic state of the world is shifting a lot right now. And before, a lot of these veils were necessary, but we're truly stepping into a new world and a new timeline in which it is safe for us to be our authentic selves. And so, if you know that you are wearing veils, I urge you to take off those veils because when you remove those veils, yes, you will make certain people uncomfortable and certain parts of your life will be destroyed because you're being your true self. But know that what is destroyed in your life is things that are not meant for you. Maybe you have this energetic veil that makes you look really gentle and makes it seem like you never want to argue with someone, but what that truly attracts ends up being people who don't respect your boundaries because they feel like they never have to fear your anger, and so they don't think they need to respect you. When you take down the energetic veil that makes it seem like you're always smiling, always okay, always just nice, and having a lot of fun no matter what people do to you, when you take off the veil, that's like you're okay with everything. And when you allow yourself to show anger along with your boundaries, that's going to drive out a lot of people and a lot of situations in your life because they were never truly aligned to who you are because the problem the whole time was you and this energetic veil you were wearing out of insecurity. And when you remove that illusion and you show who you truly are, then yeah, you're right. Those people aren't going to accept you. And you shouldn't be wanting them to accept you because they're not the right people. When you take off that energetic veil, what you're going to do is you're going to start attracting other people who do truly align with you and who do fulfill you and your highest purpose into your life. Before I wrap up this episode, one more type of person who might have energy that isn't theirs would be a person who doesn't have energetic boundaries. And this is different from a person who is just wearing energetic veils and cloaking their real self, because this person actually has a lot of energy that is muddled with other people's. So this might be someone who goes around trying to solve other people's problems and learn their lessons for them, or people who are always just wrapped up in other people's lives and other people's energies and not really focused on themselves. This type of person might not really have a clearly defined personality or a clearly defined sense of self because their energy isn't fully their own energy. It's like part of it. Part of their energy, part of the energy that is in their body is their own energy. But a lot of the energy is also other people's energy and other situations' energy. And why this can be harmful is that you might not really be able to evolve that quickly because you don't have your own full capacity. You're giving away so much of your energy and you're giving away a lot of your power. So yeah, another thing to pay attention to when maneuvering with spirit is if you're dreamwalking and there's really no good reason to dreamwalk or astral project somewhere. Like you can tell that the information you're trying to access is really just none of your business and it's not going to help you evolve, I would say just don't do it because a problem that a lot of us have is we get mixed up in things that are none of our business. And that might sound really simple, but it's true. A lot of us go around trying to see what other people are up to, trying to see why they did this thing, why they said that thing, when in reality, it's none of our business. Like, does it need to affect us? If not, then it's really just none of our business. And we would really benefit from accessing only the information that would help us grow and just focusing our attention on ourselves and our personal development. Oh, so maneuvering the spirit, energetic veils, energetic boundaries. If you do have any sort of problem with energetic boundaries, you can do some type of spell to kind of cut off your energy from other people's. And this might actually be painful for yourself and for other people because it's kind of like you're cutting off a limb and you're reattaching another limb, but that limb was yours in the that limb that you're reattaching was yours in the first place. And things are just coming back to normal. But when you first come back into being yourself, it might feel really weird because you're not used to it. And so, yeah, sometimes it might be painful, but just having those boundaries is another thing that can help keep you from getting influenced by other energies or even possessed because people who often have a big part of themselves that are outside of their body, they might not be able to astral project well because their awareness isn't even fully their own. And so, yeah, that's about it. Astral projection is about awareness. Try to take down your energetic veils and keep up your energetic boundaries. I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for listening to Magic Theory 101 and just listening to me run through some of these concepts I've been going through lately. This week's astral projection class was really nice, and I could tell that the guided meditation was able to impact a lot of people in a really in a really deep way. And yeah, I'm just really glad I get to be here doing the work I'm doing. It's it's been great. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and see you in the next episode.